The Long Way Home, Chapter 8. Out of Their Depth. Thankfully, Tundre's watch was just as uneventful as a watch on the bridge in hyperspace usually is. Jason still felt more at ease with her there as he slept ahead of their scheduled translation into real space. One never knows when or how something could go sideways, after all. Better. With these 16 hours to himself, Vincent had become merely grumpy again, rather than the ragged edge of his breaking point. They'd had a breakfast, cooked by Vi, and Vincent began to lay out his plan. "Listen up, kids. The last time we met people, they didn't exactly give us a friendly welcome," the grizzled man said. "So we're going to be careful." "So how are we going to be careful?" Stowey asked before his beak snapped close over the plump berry. "I was getting to that, kid, so listen. We'll drop into minimum power, no lights, no grav, no sense of pings, no AC. Things are going to get uncomfortably warm." "Not cold?" Vi asked with a curious tilt to her head. "Nah, sweetie," Vincent said more mildly. "Our reactor will still put off heat. We're not going to completely cold, since we might need to run again." "Aye," Jason agreed. "Which is why we need Tundre in the engine room to manage power. I think we should have Tundre in the engine room, mister." "Yes," Vincent agreed. "That's good, Chief George." Jason suppressed a groan. "You too, though." He pointed to the fork between Vi and Stowey. "I want you strapped in good and snug until we're back in hyperspace. Understood?" "Yes, Mr. Vincent," Vi agreed readily. However, Stowey asked, "Why can't we do something useful?" Vincent fixed him with a hard gaze. "You don't have any skills that would help us in this situation, kid. Chief tells me that you helped the Out Planet side, and I've got eyes to see that you can help the girls while keeping the galley in good order. So button your beak and keep you out of the way." Stowey puffed out his feathers in the front and said, "You don't know that." "Okay, kid, what can you do?" Vincent asked while he rolled his wrist at Stowey with undisguised impatience. Stowey opened his beak, snapped it shut, and tried to make himself smaller as he said, "Strap myself in and keep Vi company." "Good call," Vincent said tersely, and then, more gently, "Tran, you'll need to get a nap between now and when we translate. You've been up for a while." "Aye, mister," she answered as she leaned warily against Jason. "Glad you're feeling better." "What's our ETA, mister?" Jason asked. 10 hours, Vincent rumbled. "You and I have plenty of time to keep a watch." "Aye, mister." It was dark in the cockpit, dark and stuffy. The George boy didn't complain, though. They'd shut down as many of the long-way systems ahead of the translation as they could, and everyone was as securely strapped in as they could be at their stations. Vincent sent up a silent Hail Mary as he realized he was thinking like a captain. One prayer wasn't enough, so he asked God to send as many saints and angels that it could spare to keep him from getting these kids into worse trouble. He might not rate much, but the kids... There was a flash of bright light across the view screen, and the swirling colors of hyperspace colliding with the reality bubble dissipated into real space. And the George boy said, "Seems clear. It'll take a couple minutes to get a better idea of where we are in system. Speed of light and cameras and all." "Getting anything on EM?" "Tons, mister. Looks like transmissions of some kind. But it'll take her a while to gather enough data to pinpoint the sources." "Start recording any signals we're receiving," Vincent ordered. "Aye, mister." The long way was hushed, and Vincent was surprised by how empty the silence fell between them, without those of a system they'd shut down was. To fill it, he began, "I told you I don't owe you an explanation." "Aye, mister." "You don't owe me an explanation. But you still disapprove." "I don't owe you my approval," the kid softly said, not defiantly, and without judgment, but as a simple statement of fact. Vincent tapped a claw on the yoke and asked, "Would you like an explanation? Do you want me to approve of what you do, Mr. Vincent?" Vincent could hear the boy's soft, even breathing as he considered the answer to that question. "Let's focus on the task at hand for now," he said. "Aye, mister." They sat in silence and waited with their eyes on the readouts for passive sensors, ready to run at the first sign of attention from whoever was creating all the EM activity. As the long way began to compile images of the system, 2 planets in the habitable zone of potential orbits were cluttered by satellites and stations. Not to mention the lines of ships going to and fro like marching ants between them and several structures in orbit of the local star that looked a lot like orbital habitats. That traffic paled in comparison, however, to the rivers of ships between orbital facilities around 2 of the 5 gas giants where resource elevators were extricating something, presumably resources. "I wish I hired a Digitan," Vincent mumbled at the sheer volume of information he was trying to pass. "They'd probably complain about the long-ways computers not being spacious enough for them." "Mister, these ships look kind of familiar," the George boy murmured as he pointed out the groups of ships near one of the orbital habitats. "Yeah, they do," Vincent growled as he recognized the lines of the ship that had tried to snatch this long way out of the void. Doesn't look like they've seen us. Orders, the boy nearly whispered, almost as if he was worried that they might be given away by his voice. Get Calcs running. The second it looks like they're reheading for us, punch it. From drift? Vincent gritted his teeth and said, From drift. Aye, mister. Running Calcs now. Retreat or new destination. Near a star. Should be barren. Yes, mister. There was a tight itch between Jason's shoulder blades as he watched Calcs come up red and amber. His empty belly roiled. The silence that stretched between himself and his host was full of things left unsaid, questions left unasked. He worried that he'd offended the man. He believed down to his marrow that Vincent was a good man for all his gruff and growl, and he wanted a good man to think well of him. Seconds became minutes. Minutes stretched into hours, and the lids of his eyes began to drag closed despite the lack of gravity to make them fall. Then he saw it. A squadron of sleek silvery ships peeled away from the traffic of the system on an intercept course with the Long Way. Jason punched it. There was a tremendous bang. The Long Way groaned under the strain, and Jason's ears rang painfully amidst the terrifically bright flash that resolved into swirling colors of hyperspace colliding with the bubble of real space created by the Long Way's hyperdrive. Our Father, who art in heaven, Jason began, as he struggled to stop his trembling fingers. End of chapter. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholt, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.